Listen, laugh, and learn with Sacha and Ish as they share their experiences, thoughts, and tips to build skills that are not so average and a career that's not so ordinary. This is the Not So Breakfast Show.
All right, welcome to the Not So Breakfast Show today, the podcast for leadership and career development. And today, this is part 2 of our 3-part series on building your best year yet. Last week, we reflected on how you show up. And we looked at the ways that we bring our energy, what our attitude is to different types of scenarios. We looked at just showing up and being in the room. We looked at minimal effort. We looked at BAU, just doing your job, but not really getting any recognition or going above and beyond with that. And then we looked at creating value and how we also create new value. Good discussion, good platform to really piggyback on today as we start to clarify exactly what we want when we go to build our best year yet. And to help me with this discussion, as she does every week, we are here with Sacha Coburn, coming to me all the way from Christchurch.
Yes, I'm down the middle of the bottom of the South Island, which is at the bottom of the world, so high. Can you hear me from down here?
I can hear you, and I can hear some road noise because you're just doing it old school in a cafe.
Well, it's at my office.
Oh, it's at your office in the
happens to have a cafe, so when you're lucky enough to work for a coffee company, your offices have beautiful cafe spaces. But also, yes, you can hear cars because we have cars in the South Island as well.
Oh, that's so good that they've caught up. That's brilliant.
Amazing. I flew down yesterday and I was taking photos for a friend overseas, and I took a photo of the North Island and it's very green looking down. And then as we come over the South Island, it's very dry. And I know people overseas remark about this, but it's really the first time I've turned my mind to it in any meaningful way. What a bullshit set of names we have. The English names for our islands are so stupid. What do you have in New Zealand? Well, we have an island in the north, and what do you call that? We call that North Island. And you have an island in the south. What do you call that? Oh, we call that the South Island.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, Stuart, what do you want to call that little one? Let's call that Stuart Island. All right, there we go.
Yeah, so Waipounamu, the Māori name for the South Island, much better. There we go.
Well, we got New Zealand, but yeah, they didn't really get much more creative.
It's like calling your children 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I'm always forgetting the names of the 2 kids I've got now. I'm always like, oh, Sam, Emma, no. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 would be a good idea. So we're talking about, what do you want? It's all very good to set some goals, but what do you actually want specifically? What is that goal? And what is the outcome of that goal? And probably even a discussion around, why do you even want it? Is it just something that you want to feel like you want to achieve? Like, what are the tangible things around it? Because otherwise it would just be something that ends up as a target that we don't hit, that we set next year, or it's on a list that we never really get to because we feel like we should be achieving something. But what do you really want? What do you want, Sash?
Well, starting point for me in this discussion is just an acknowledgement that these are simple questions that are really hard to answer. Because I think what most of us have is we have elements of unease or disquiet about aspects of our life where we say, perhaps I'm just not as fulfilled as I would like to be, I'm not as happy as I would like to be, I don't feel I'm being as successful as I would like to be in these particular areas, but it's really hard to articulate what it is that you want. And I think it's because most things that we want are nuanced. And everything comes with conditions. So, for example, I could say, when I was younger, I just want someone to love me. So in my relationships and my personal life, I just want someone to love me. And what I mean is, I just want someone to love me, not you. Not you. No, not you. I know that you love me, but I don't care about that. So it's not I want anybody to love me. It's that I want somebody who shares my values and has similar goals and aspirations to me. So it's not just I want someone to love me. it's there's other things that are attached. And we might say, as another example, we might say, I just want to be well paid for what I do. Except that's not true either, because many of us are well paid for what we do and we don't like our jobs because our boss is a dick or we're not getting the opportunities that we want. So I don't think any of the areas of our life that we might want to answer that question for, what do you want? None of them are one-dimensional. There's multifaceted dimensions to what happiness or fulfillment or challenge look like for us. And I think that's why these questions are hard to answer. But that doesn't mean it's not worth looking for the answer to those questions, because I think one of the most powerful things you can do is take time to go, if you are unhappy or unsettled or unfulfilled in any area of your life, you owe it to yourself to be able to articulate what's missing or what is it that you are wanting to move towards.
Because the specifics help us avoid just putting it into the bucket category. And we are going to talk about bucket categories because they are useful. But if we go, well, I want to earn more money, why? It's sometimes just a success metric. It's like we get the great car and it's nice and we like it, but then as soon as we've got it, we want to get the better car, or we get the nice house, and then as soon as we've got it, we want to get the better house, because we wrap up our success around either a status or a progression, and if I'm moving forward, I'm being successful. So we bucket these categories up. But what we're starting to look at, and really where I'm starting to even look at my own goal setting, is what do I want specifically? Like verbalize it, not just I want a nicer car, like what car and why do I want it? And what does that mean to actually go out there and try to get that?
I think the why is really the most important part about what you're saying there. I think the specificity of the car, good, yes, it's that particular one. But to understand why you want it actually helps you analyse if getting the thing is going to deliver what it is that you want. So, if, for example, if you're truly honest with yourself, you go, the reason I want that car is that my bloody neighbour, when I got my car, my neighbour went and got another car that's better than mine. I'm like, I thought I had a better car. And if you can be really honest about it, you go, I just want to have a better car than my neighbour. Now, most of us would be horrified to think that that's our truth. But for many of us, there's something like that comes close to the truth of why we want it. And so then you realise, okay, well, if it is because your neighbour's got a better car and you feel like he's looking down on you, you're going to save really hard, work really hard, get this specific new car that you want, and nothing can stop your neighbour the next day going out and one-upping you again. So as soon as you come to the why of the thing, you really then get to evaluate, is the thing worth pursuing for the reasons you are pursuing it? And I think that can be really helpful too, because often our motivations are, or our drives are actually to fix something that is broken in us that can't be fixed by the thing that we are trying to band-aid it over with. If you're in competition with your neighbour, that speaks to your own, and I'm not talking about you personally, Ish, it speaks to your own self-esteem need rather than your need for a new car, right?
Yeah. And what do they say? We spend money we don't have to buy things we don't need to impress people that we don't like. But this kind of, this more mentality. And maybe even before we start getting into some techniques around defining it, we could talk about the bucket of career. A lot of people say, well, I want to progress in my career, and progression in your career means a promotion or a pay rise or it's something that might be tangible. But again, if we start to define why we want it, even before what we specifically want, it may not be the case, because often with a career that's sometimes comes with a new level, and as they say, new level, new devil, you might think that the new level is going to create an easier time at work or alleviate some of the problems that you've got. But often it ends up just creating a whole new set of problems, and it may not have been the promotion that you were after. You might have been wanting to develop yourself in some way, but you ended up with the promotion, and now you're even less happy in the role because you're not doing the stuff that you loved, or it's not quite what you thought it would be, or it didn't fulfill the gap.
My questions about what do you really want is not to try and dissuade people from being ambitious or for wanting more or for desiring a different and better and happier life. It's about getting real about what your drivers are and why. So I know that a number of my drives have been to succeed over and above people who I think have wronged me in the past.
Let's talk about that.
It's petty, right? It's really petty, and I wish I was more mature than that. But it appears I'm not. So I can either spend hours in therapy unpacking that, or I can just go, petty bitch, keep going. Keep going, get more than those people, whatever more is than those people who wronged you.
Yeah.
Make them regret the day they crossed your path.
Well, my one is probably, I wanted to progress in my career to kind of prove to myself that I could do it. I kind of had a rough start at school. I'd had some things that didn't work out. So a lot of it was like that ambition and that desire was to just prove to myself and prove to other people that I could do it. But as we've often talked about, sometimes you need to also be aware that you can get promoted to your level of most incompetence. So suddenly you get to the point where you go, yep, I got to there and I actually can't do that. Now I've given myself a whole lot of brain damage. So maybe the position or the progression isn't wrong to pursue, but it's like kind of going, well, if I am going to go there, this is also what I need to have in the background, because if it's just about an ego trip.
And it's about understanding in that progression sense, what are you good at and what do you want? So it might be that you say, I'm really good at managing other people, so I want to go as far as I can as a leader who manages other people. You might be someone who says, I don't like managing other people, so I want to go to the maximum of my ability, but I don't want to pick up responsibility for others. It's just not something. I want to be a technical expert and do rewarding work, get paid as much as I possibly can for that work, add value, do good for others, but someone else can look after the people. And that's okay too.
So why don't we now then talk about the categories? Because as much as we kind of talked about the fact that sometimes we can use a category and just use it as a driver, it is useful to think about different categories. So it might be finance, it might be relationships, it might be career progression. Whatever those categories are, they allow us to look at them and then start to kind of go, well, if I do want to progress my career, what does that look like? Like, what is it specifically that I want?
And I think a really useful place to start is to say, how happy, how fulfilled, how successful do you feel right now?
Nice.
How much growth have you had in the last year? So you review backwards and then say, and what do I want moving forward? So I remember saying to you, a few years ago, or sharing with you that I'd got to the point in my career as my kids were getting older, that I said, I'm just ready to be in charge. I want to be in charge of something. And, obviously Chris had started Coffee Culture. It's his business. He is the founder and, all power to him. That set of skills is something I don't possess, the ability to say there was nothing and now I build something. But I do have a set of skills that once something's in play, I can add to that. So we had a really frank conversation where I said to Chris, I want some more responsibility. I want to be in charge of more of our business. And if that doesn't sit comfortably with you, that's totally fine. Just let me know. If you don't want to give up this little part that I'd like to run, good, just tell me that. And that's fine. I respect that. But I'm going to go somewhere else because I need to run. I recognize that the drive in me to be in charge and control, and part of that was about the ability to make my own mistakes, to try some stuff. And so we had that conversation where we wrestled with, and he was more than willing to say, yeah, take this, but run with it, do it, that's great. And I'm going to provide some balance over here to make sure you don't drive our family finances into the ground. So that was really good. But I recognised within myself that some of my frustration in some of the environments was I just didn't have enough control and I wanted to make decisions.
Yeah. That's great. And I think once you understand again, because you're defining it, right? I want the control. This is what I want to achieve. And when we get into our third series around the action plan that needs to be in place with that, we are going to be looking at both sides. Like, what actions do you need to take, but also what do you need to be aware of? Because if you want the promotion and you just get told, well, here are the things you need to do in order to get the promotion, but you're not looking at the flip side of the coin, and here's everything that's working against you right now that's not getting you that promotion, then it just becomes a goal that you can't achieve, right?
Yeah. And I think, if you come back to the conversation that Chris and I had, it was a really mature conversation. I wasn't throwing my toys out. I wasn't saying, if I don't get this, I'm gone. I think it's really useful to have conversations with your employers once you've recognised what it is that you want and need, to be coming from a really sincere place. This is what I want to do to grow in my career. Where do you see that I'm at? What do I need to improve? What are the flip sides of that? Etc.
Yeah.
And like I say to people, if you go, I just want to try something on my own, but I don't want to take the whole risk, that's why you should talk to me, and I'll help you into a coffee culture. Because it's that perfect mix of, I want to make some of my own decisions, but I don't want to do it all on my own.
Yeah.
Always be selling. Get the plug in.
Would it be fair to say that a lot of these goal categories kind of work congruently? So you might want to progress in your career and you know what that looks like, but your home life could be a complete shambles. And as a result, the stress that is causing is working against you because you can't focus. And we've had that quote and we've used it sometime in leadership training that, being a success at work but a failure at home is a bit of a cop-out. And we're not saying it from sometimes relationships don't fall apart and we need to change them, we need to work on them or leave them. But the fact is, the extra work that could be working in the background could be working against you. And is there some things around it that you need to put in place as well? Financial stress in one area can mean that you're so focused in that one that you can't work on something else. It's like the stone in your shoe, right? You want to go for a run, but you've got a stone in your shoe, and every time you try to run, it just causes you pain. It's like, take the stone out, fix the stone, because otherwise the goal that you're wanting to achieve is going to be way harder because you're actually slightly working against yourself and you've also got this negative reinforcement that's going on all the time as well.
Well, I think there's a whole heap in what you've just said there. Actually, your first question is there some congruency across these buckets? And I don't think there has to be. I think it's entirely possible for people to choose and say, I'm going to focus exclusively on my career and myself to the detriment of my family life or my home life. That's a choice I make, off I go.
Yeah.
Whether we judge that or not, you do you. Where I think it becomes a challenge is people who want to have a happy and productive family life and a happy home life and have good finances and have a good career, because I think most of us would agree that kind of balance is worthwhile pursuing, and if you want to pursue that, then it is a problem if you're out of balance, if you go, my job's going great but actually home is terrible. And the whole idea of being a cop-out is to go, how do you define wholehearted success? And you and I would share a definition of wholehearted success that means success in more than one realm of your life. And I love what you've said about that's not to say stay in your marriage because you're committed to it. If it's not working for people, then your commitment might be to work on it, do the best you can, and then quit it, leave. There's no judgment around that. But the judgment, I think, or the judgment you want to give yourself is, as you set up for your best year ever, if you've got areas of your life, these buckets that aren't working, then just continuing on as you are now is not going to change anything.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to say, I'm going to deal with the stone in my shoe in some way, whatever that looks like. So you mentioned the home life thing. And this one, like the career one, is hard because you're not solely in charge of it. So you might say, well, my home life would be great if only my kids weren't such assholes. Oh, maybe that's just me. That's just me talking. So I think when you say, what do you want? And if one of the answers to that is, I want a home life where it's peaceful, or I want a home life where the children are free to express themselves, or I want a home life where we share the domestic chores, or I want a home life where I feel seen and I feel like my family understand me. However you articulate that, you can own the part where you do as much as you can to create that. And then if ultimately you're not getting back what you need, then, off to counselling you go.
Well, reflecting on that, and one of the exercises that I've used in the past, I've had done on me in the past, and can be just a way to visually kind of look at what these buckets might look like, is starting off by defining what you want your categories to be that you're going to kind of look at as you start to develop your best year yet. So you might make a cross on a page, and then you might put another cross on the page so that it's like there's like 6 intersecting lines that are kind of making up little segments. And then you might name each of those segments. And again, that could be career, finances. It might even be, individual relationships. It doesn't matter. It's whatever is kind of like your focus right now. And then you draw a circle around it. So we've got a circle and we've got some segments on that circle. And then you can put like a little bit, we kind of like 1 to 10 scale. So
it's so cute.
I know.
Started with the circle. Draw a circle and then divide it so you've got 6 or 7 or 8 pieces of pie.
There we go. Yes, it's a pie. That's what it is. It's a pie.
The creative genius of Ishmael, people.
That's what's going on. The hamster is running on the wheel pretty hard to get that one out. But yes, it's a pie. And so we're going to rate this pie from 0 in the middle to 10 being the outside. And then once you've got that, you might just go up the line and you kind of go, okay, so my career is about a 5 at the moment. And so you draw your circle and it comes across as a 5. So that's like half the pie, big bite out of the pie. And then you might go, my relationship's really good at the moment. That might be a 10. And then you've got your finances might be a 2. And you kind of go round. And what you end up is a visual representation of at least seeing what pie segment category is out of balance to everything else. Now, to your point before, it might be that right now it's just the way it is. I'm focusing on my career and that is my priority and I'm willing to let the other segments go. Or it might be actually the fact that this segment is out of balance in my focus with the rest of the segments. It's something I need to bring attention to because it's actually causing me problems. It is like the stone in my shoe. And that visual representation can be a useful exercise for people to do.
Yeah, and I love the idea that you determine what the buckets are. So depending on your age and stage, you might have career, finances, home life, personal relationships, health and wellness, adventure and travel, community giving, whatever you determine to be the buckets that you go, hey, these are things that are important to me and I want to consider them. And they might change over time.
Okay, so then if we've done that exercise, or even if we've just categorized our buckets up, then it might be starting to define, okay, so what does success look like for me? So maybe it's around defining a question that helps you define what the goal was. So I want to have career success. What does career success look like? And then you can kind of maybe reverse engineer off that. And here's some things I would like to achieve in a place that would be helpful to get there.
And useful, I think, to project forward over a time scale. So you don't build a career in a month. You build a career over a period of 10, 15, 20 years. So you're really asking yourself in terms of making this your best year yet. You may not reach the fulfillment of your career goals. You might have an aspiration to get married. You can't make that happen. But you can set goals for behaviours that take you more towards that. Like, get a dating profile. Leave your house sometimes to meet other people. If a friend offers to set you up, be open to that possibility and go on that coffee meeting. So those are things that take you towards a goal that you can't achieve on your own, but give you a sense of satisfaction and progress that you wouldn't otherwise get if you just sat at home and said, why aren't I married now? If that was the thing that was important to you. If there are women out there who are, particularly young women, who have that dream, that aspiration where they go, I'd really love to be married, don't get married. Just don't. Just get a new goal. Get a different goal.
or do, but just put in like it is a 5-year plan.
Yeah, make it a 5-year goal.
Leave while it's good. Start again.
And as much as you articulate what the goal might be in each of those categories, like think about define it, articulate it, what does success mean for you? I think it's also really powerful to think about the feeling that you are trying to create within your life. So it's often a sense of satisfaction that we want, or a sense of pride, or a sense of fulfillment, or a sense of calm or excitement or energy. And as much as we can say, well, vision boards, it's kind of a bit woo-woo. I was sharing with you a major multinational company that I'm working with. In fact, it's one of the world's biggest companies. I'm working with them at the moment. And they are using vision boards throughout their organization, where they are asking teams and departments to go, what does success look like for you? And it doesn't just look like sales data graphs. It looks like this is how it makes us feel when we achieve these things.
And again, when you've got the defining goal that like it sometimes sparks some passion, right? You kind of go, man, yes, that's exactly what I want. That when I say it out loud, I can feel that feeling in my body, those tingles. It excites me, it motivates me, where you wake up and you want to read it again. And then you can do the things where you put it in front of your vision on a regular basis and have the vision boards around it and do the mantras around it and everything else that we build in, because that passion, that feeling, that motivation, that tingle, that excitement is going to drive you through the steps. The steps themselves aren't that sexy, and the steps themselves are probably the hard part. So you need that defined, this is why I'm doing it, this is what I want to achieve, and then backfill all the things you need to do to get it.
I also want to encourage people who don't know what they want. A, that's really normal, and B, to try some stuff. Because I think at all ages and stages, we think we ought to want the things that wider society tells us that we want, or that we ought to want. You should want to renovate your kitchen at some point in your life. So you look at your kitchen and you go, oh, I think I would feel better about everything if only it wasn't so brown. So then you go to you book a motel that has a different kitchen and you go, wow, does this really make a massive difference to my life? Try it out. Is the cost-benefit analysis really worth it? I want to be the kind of person that wears really lovely high heels. Do you? Try on a friend's pair of high heels and wear them for a night out and go, oh, I'm not sure that this is actually what I want to do. I want to be the kind of person that plays social touch rugby. Go and play some social touch rugby, and then you go, I do. I love this. Great. I'm going to keep going. I think there's a risk that we overthink everything and we say we've got to be committed to goals. We've got to be committed to our areas of focus. When if we haven't tried the thing, we're not going to know. I thought that what I needed to do when I was 19 was have a massive, not even a massive, like an OE. I needed to go overseas for 6 months and learn a bit more about myself. And I lasted 3 weeks. I wasn't ready. The timing wasn't right. Did not work. Now I'm at the stage of my life where I travel more, and I know that I love travel and I want to build a life that has more travel in it because I've tried it, I've tasted it, I've had a sense. So let's not pursue things because we think they're things that we ought to be doing. You might say home ownership is something. I definitely want to own my own home. At the moment, you do the economics and you go, oh, I don't know that's ever going to be real for me. So it might be that you say, I want to have a really stable home life. So I want to find a landlord that will rent a house to me for at least 3 years, or whatever it might be. Just check in that you are not choosing to pursue things that other people think are a good idea, that you're not living someone else's goals for you. This is particularly true if you're just starting out and you have some kind of parental expectation of what it is you're going to do. Dad's a doctor, I should be a doctor. Yeah, okay. If what you really want to do is be a jazz violinist, go and be a jazz violinist. Life is way too short to be pursuing someone else's dream for you.
And again, the importance of defining it, because if you just say, I want a new job, what do you want in this new job? Why do you want a new job? Is it that you want to wake up and feel passionate about what you do? You want to feel like you want to go to work? You want to work with people that you like? You may be in that job now. You're just not going about it in a way that's giving you that outcome. Or it might be that you need a new job, but at least you can start to think now around what that new job looks like. Same industry, different industry. What is it specifically? Because when you backfill the steps, you need to know exactly what you're heading towards. It needs to be something that is going to inspire you to want to do those steps.
Yeah, and I love that when you start to think about what it is that you want, what becomes immediately apparent is that there are things that are within your control that are precursors to that. So, for example, if you look at your relationship bucket or your segment on the pie and you go, I want to improve the quality of my relationships with my immediate family or with my workmates or with my friends, I don't spend enough of them, you recognize that you have to do something about the way you behave to change that. And that's something that's within your control. If you look at your health and wellness bucket and you go, I actually want to be able to climb up that mountain, small hill, with my friends on the weekend, and if they invited me today, I'd be too embarrassed to go because I know I'm going to be slow and I'm going to puff. Right, if that's your reality now, and you know that that's what you want to be able to do, then it's within your control and power to do something about it. If you sort out your health and wellness, that exponentially enables you to achieve more in the career bucket, in the relationship bucket, in the home life bucket, because you have more energy and you're taking better care of yourself. You have, just on a physiological level, at a cellular level, there's more going on for you. So even if you look at some of your little segments and you go, oh, but I just want this and it's out of my reach because I'm not going to be able to afford to buy my own home this year. I'm not going to be able to be the team leader yet. That's a 2-year or 3-year goal. Have a look at the things that you can actually get some immediate impact and benefit from, and that's the autonomy and agency and authority and permission you have to improve your own life in terms of how you exercise, what you eat, how you sleep. All of the stuff that you can control should be way up the list of things because you literally can control it. I know I just said that twice, but you get the point, I hope.
So maybe as your exercise after this podcast and listening to this is draw your pie. What are your segments? You can either draw a pie or you can draw 2 lines on the page, put some lines through the middle and then draw a circle around.
Up to you. There's no right way.
Different ways to approach it. But whatever you do to design up your segments, then categorize them. What are they and what are they for you? And then start to shape that vision, that statement, that thing that when you look at it and you go, yes, this is where I want to head my career and I want to focus on this year, and my relationships are here and my health is here and spiritual life is here, and whatever it is for you, it is important to make sure that they are your segments because that's what's going to get you up in the morning and do the third step, which is really put the plan in place.
Do you know, for you, Ish, have you thought about what your most important ones are for this year? Would you know?
I've always kind of done the financial goal setting, but I have fallen into the trap of just setting the more money. And as I achieve that, every year, it's not fixing
that's
the problem.
So funny because that's so real, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. That's interesting.
So then you kind of go, well, my salary is this. I really wish it would be this, and I'd like to earn this income on the side. But then you just end up spending more money, and you just end up getting to that point, and then it's not enough.
You don't have any more money at the end.
So, yeah.
You just have more things.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, I achieved that. So now I need to set it again. But actually what I want is just being able to not worry about anything that happens financially. I want to be able to take the trip whenever I want to take the trip as opposed to the actual hard target. So for myself, I want to change the way I look at my goal setting and start to look at it more holistically and start to really kind of put the statement or the vision in behind it. So as I start to make decisions over this year, they're better decisions rather than just hitting a target that, hit that, but now I just push it out again this next year.
And that's really the review of the why, right? Why is that important? I love that for you. That's awesome. That's really cool. I know you haven't asked me, but I'm going to tell you.
I'll ask you. So, Sasha, what about you? What have you got?
What's interesting for me is this whole age and stage thing. So I have, maybe not obviously, from the way I jokingly talk about my children, I've loved my time raising my kids and being the more at-home parent. Even though progressively the kids got older, I worked more. I've still had more responsibility and involvement in terms of knowing what they're up to, where they're going, what their day-to-day life. With Tiger living overseas now and Portia going into her second year of university, Jordan's well established in Auckland, I really feel like it's not that my family is less important, it's just that they don't require as much time from me now. So that gives some time gaps, and so I think about what am I going to do with that time. And there's two things for me. One is I have zero excuses to not sort out my health and fitness and well-being, because in the past when I've been able to make the excuse, I can't squeeze everything that I would want to, I now absolutely can. So I'm calling myself to account on my own bullshit around that. Now is the time to make sure I'm setting up for success in later life by doing the things I need to do at 50 to be healthy at 60 and 70, 80 and 90. And then the second thing is that I really want to work. So the things, some of my career goals and our business goals, I want to be able to just spend more time, effort and focus in that area than I have in the past, because I have the time.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what's possible. And I love what you said earlier about proving things to yourself. I am fully out to prove things to other people. And maybe a psychologist will tell me that that's terrible motivation. I don't care. Right now it's working.
All right, so went and saw the movie Wonka.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
No, is that a no from you?
It wasn't for me. I'm just going to call it. It wasn't for me. Emma loved it. She did love it. Jo
great.
Enjoyed it, but it wasn't quite what she was expecting. I just found it all a bit odd. And it was kind of very overacted, big, obviously, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Had a lot of famous names in it. Did
not deliver to your expectation.
No. So anyway, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to tell you not to see it, but you might want to see something else.
Go and see something else with Timothy Chalamet in it. Like June. That's a great fun movie. Call Me By Your Name is the beautiful Timothy Chalamet, which has an exceptional scene with a peach. Do not send your children to find that on the internet.
Okay. Was he in June?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't like that either. Maybe
that's where you're going wrong.
Maybe it's him. Found it. Maybe that's it. Okay, maybe I'll just avoid all his movies from now on. So, how are you enjoying season 2 of the UK Traces?
I find it very hard to keep myself busy between Sunday and Thursday, which is when they release them. It's so good. Are you watching it?
It is so good. Yeah, loving it.
So good.
It's amazing. I don't want to do spoilers, so because people will go listen. But just that secret that happened, that got revealed a little bit into it. I was like, that was so good, and the way it was revealed, you couldn't script that. That was amazing. It was just so good.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You have to watch it to know what we're talking about. Good. This is good quality podcast content.
Once you've watched it and you know the secret, DM us, because we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah.
In the meantime, jump on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, and maybe share the episodes with a friend. This is a 3-part series, and, let's spread the learning love. Find a friend, family member, just share it with your work colleagues. They don't have to be your friends, but some people know they just need their best year yet. 3 episodes to really make that happen. Go get it.
Do it.